Hi, everybody. My name is Eduard Moroianu, and I'm an experienced business analyst at Minded. Here we have a wonderful team of business analysts who all share the passion and the love for this job. So today we'll talk about a subject that is dear to me, the human side of business analyst. Let me tell you a little story. Picture this. It's Rio de Janeiro, somewhere in 2000 or something, a big project for migration of a CRM system. We are in the early phases of the project where we try to discover the high-level requirements. And the setup was quite strange. We have Brazilian people who didn't speak English. We have a project manager who was a different nationality, and I was on the other side, a Romanian. So the discussion were a little bit heavy, so from English translated through Brazilian and back. So it was a little bit difficult. So while I'm explaining, I feel that during the discussion, we are somehow going too deep into the requirements, and at some moment I feel the need to say that, okay, let's stick to the high level requirements. But at that moment, I said, I don't care about the little things right now. Let's focus on the higher picture. So at that moment, I felt that the room was lost. It's something that's, as a BA, sometimes you feel that you lose the room. So after the meeting, I tried to understand what happening, because nothing was out of the ordinary on my side. And then I realized that something that I said had a deep impact on their side. So this fact that I said that I don't care about the small thing in Brazilian culture means that I don't care about you people. Because in Brazilian culture, relationship, or what they call relacionamentos, came before transactions. So personal connections basically drive the success. So what I just did, I just declare that their context didn't matter. Okay, the project was successfully, but this taught me something. Emotional intelligence is not optional in the business analysis. It's the difference between gathering the requirements and understanding the needs. Now, going deeper, we may say that business analysis is no longer just logic, it's human. When you talk about business analysis, and if people ask you what you are doing, they imagine spreadsheets, they imagine picture diagram. But as a business analyst, where you are doing the job, you realize that every project, it's a jam session. And here I like to do an analogy with business analysis and the jazz player musician. It's something that I really like. It's like in jazz, the business analyst needs to improvise. So you step into a meeting with a plan, maybe a tune that you want to play, but once the first stakeholder offer a worry or somebody language shifts, then the whole music changes. Suddenly, you need to listen, you need to adapt, and then find a harmony in that moment. So, as a jazz musician, they really succeed when they manage to read each other, to hear each other, and then respond. Business analysts succeed in the same way. They read the room, they respond to what is not said, and they trust their instincts along with the data that they have on hand. So, when gathering the requirements, it's better to use empathy mapping. Basically, you ask stakeholder, what moves you? What excites you? What success looks from your point of view? Again, going back to the jazz analogy, treat every project meeting like a jazz rehearsal. Leave space for solos. Invite quieter team members to contribute, to speak their needs. And if they speak, then riff on that idea, and then the whole conversation will start. Also, when you talk up with the people, you need to adapt your communication style to the audience. It's something what IABA calls stakeholder viewpoints. So one moment you are pure technical discussing with the team, you are talking about API, you are talking about connections, databases, and the other moment you need to speak with a business user. And then you need to be diplomatic. You need to uh, understand the processes. You need to understand the business. So basically, you need to shift between those mindsets very, very quickly. How empathy transforms requirement into real outcomes. In my experience, I feel that the output of a BA work should be something beautiful. So when a document is created, it's not just an opportunity to solve a business need, but you make people feel that they are seen, that they are heard, and then they become confident and they are inspired to act. So when you design a document, you put a diagram into the document, you design it, you need to think of the stakeholder who opens it. It's either business or development. How does that person feels when they read your output? So basically, our job is not just to capture the information, but to ease the journey of the stakeholder. So when you create diagrams, make it clear, make it well structured. Use simple language, kind and respectful. When documentation is beautiful and elegant in structure and intuitive, people have the tendency to relax. Their mental load shifts and they trust what's in front of them. How you do this? You do it by storytelling, include some user stories persona within your documentation. Within the meetings, do active listening. So you don't just capture what the stakeholder wants, but you need to understand what excites them, what frustrates them within the current process. And then you need to make sure that those emotions are echoed back in the output that the business analyst produced. Feedback and iteration. So after sharing a draft document to the user, always ask, did this document make things clear for you? Is there anything that you feel it's left off? So when the requirements are crafted with empathy and the attention to beauty, it's basically allow teams to move faster because everyone gets it. It's simple. So somehow beauty and empathy, they are connected. When a stakeholder smile or says, this is what I really need or I really want, it's that moment when you realize you did a well job, a good job. So if the business analyst say it's an art, that empathy and aesthetics are the brush and the palettes that you use. Let me tell you a short story. It happened to me in a project. I just entered the project. I didn't have even the time to open my laptop on the first day. And it was a situation escalated and the project manager came to the system architect and they start arguing and I was somewhere in the middle. And at that moment, the guy tried to introduce me and I was prepared to have a speech to tell exactly why I'm doing here and what is my vision, what are my scope. But the project manager asked a simple question: who are you? No introduction, no context, just raw, direct question: who are you? So at that moment, everything that I had in mind just disappeared. So analyzing this after that, it struck me in business analysis. Before anyone trusts your logic, your recommendation, your uh, experience, let's say, proven, they want to know who you really are in person. Are you here to help? Do you care about us? Do you care about our success? Or you just need to uh, mark the deliverables are done? So at that point, I realized that our job is not being the smartest in the room and having all the answers. It's about being truly present, being human, and building trust one conversation at a time. So empathy isn't a soft advantage. Isn't a soft skill, it's a hard advantage. So how do you make the empathy work into your advantage? First of all, you ask before you act. You start a meeting by asking what's in your mind. How do you feel about this project right now? You try to open the emotional context. Another thing is listen and mirror. Try reflecting listening. So after someone speaks, summarize what you heard. Now, it sounds to me like your main concern is the deadline impact over the quality. Is that right? So that moment, the stakeholder is ensured that they are really heard. And then it will help you clarify if you missed something. Also, don't be afraid to spot and name the emotions. You feel the person in front of you is somehow frustrated. Don't back off. You just name it. I'm getting the feeling that there's some frustration here. Can we talk about what's causing it? Again, you are in a meeting. Try to involve the quiet persons, the quiet ones. Notice who hasn't spoken, invite them to share their thoughts, and also bring them within the discussion. And always practice microfeedback. Close every meeting with a quick check-in. Is there anything that I have missed today? Anything that felt off? So based on the feedback you can construct. So all those steps deliver real outcomes in the end. They reduce miscommunication, build trust, and surface risk early. So to make an empathy a hard advantage, use clear and simple techniques in every conversation and in every meeting. Now, along the way, I discovered three frameworks that I might say they become an emotional compass. So think of those as your emotional toolkit. If we make the analogy with the jazz players, we can say that on their side they are using musical scales. Now consider those frameworks like emotional scales. Those three work together. So we have Goldman AI models. This will help you understand yourself and others. Thomas Kilmann conflict models gives you the strategic choices when the conflict arises. And nonviolent communication is basically allow you to navigate difficult conversation without damaging the relationships. So we'll deep dive in each of these model. Goldman emotional intelligence model. So Daniel Goleman identified four core emotional intelligence competencies that predict success better than IQ. Those four components within the model are self-awareness. So recognize your emotion as they happened. So when, for example, you are presenting a requirement to a executive board, for example, and they start questioning your analysis. At that moment, your heart starts to pump. You feel nervous. And then the thing that you need to do is to have an internal recognition. To say, okay, I'm feeling defensive right now because I spend a lot of time on this and I think my work is really good. So you take a pause, really listen to the concerns, and then prepare for the contra argument. So take a short breath, slow down, and ask, help me understand your specific concerns about this approach that you have just presented. Self-regulation is managing your emotional responses. So you have a stakeholder who emails you saying that your requirements are completely wrong. It's a waste of time on my side. So Instead of firing back as an emotional defense, you can wait an hour, then respond. I like to understand your concerns better. Would you be available for 10, 15 minutes call to to discuss, and maybe I can learn what's not working for you? So basically you address this issue professionally and you maintain also the relationships. Empathy, understanding other emotions and perspective. Basically, you are in a meeting and you see the person in front of you saying that, yeah, I agree with you, but their body language tells something totally different. So your response might be, I sense that might be some concerns you haven't had a chance to share yet, but it's your biggest worry about the change. So at that moment, they start revealing that maybe their team is overwhelmed or they're afraid to learn new processes or there's critical information that you missed. So you build up on the discussion. Social skills, using emotional information to guide interaction. You might have a case in which you are in a meeting and two stakeholders they are fighting each other, and you know that they have some historical background, they have some personal issues between them. So at that moment, you can step back and say, okay, guys, I feel that it's a problem here. Let's take a break and resume in 5, 10 minutes, or let's take this issue on a separate topic. So basically, you try to mitigate the conflict, but not intervene within the conflict itself. So Thomas Kilmann conflict modes. This will help you to handle conflict. So this model says that there are 5 modes. Let's start with the first one, competing. It's a win-lose approach. So when you want to use that, it's when you talk about non-negotiable requirements. You can imagine it is regulatory compliance. So if a user wants to skip their user authentication for faster development and this conflicts with the GDPR rules, you might say, okay, I understand your time pressure, but this is not optional, it's legally required. So it's a non-negotiable element. Second, collaborating. It's a win-win solution. So let's say a department was a real time reporting, but the IT says database does not support this. Then you can go to that department and say, let's explore this. Why do you need this? Do you really need real time, or you can have a schedule? And discussing this, you explore what other options can work, and then you reach to an agreement. Third one will be compromising. It's basically split the difference. So you have one stakeholder that wants a detailed approval workflow and another stakeholder that wants a simple one-click process. And you have 2 weeks to launch this. So what should be the response? First, you need to set up the framework. We need to launch this on time. That's non-negotiable. So what if we start with a simple 2-step approach, and then later on we'll add more functionality in order to accommodate everybody's needs. So in this way, basically you have split the requirements and you make everybody happy. Accommodating. It's something that let other win. You have a high stakeholder, and you have a good relation with him, and it has, for example, a simple need that needs to be accommodated. So you might consider that, and you may say, okay, at this moment, the bandwidth doesn't allow us to do much, but I will speak with the team and try to squeeze this in a limited time, and let's see if it's working. And you pick your fights. And at the moment, you maintain the relationship with the stakeholder, and you can build on that. Avoiding, again, we go to the previous scenario. Two stakeholders are fighting, they are arguing within the meeting. So you say, I see that it's an important issue, and I think it deserves a proper attention. Let's take it aside or discuss it in a different context. Then the third framework is nonviolent communication. So basically, this will tell you how to approach a problem without triggering defensiveness or damaging the relationship. So there are 4 steps here. You have the observation. You state facts without evaluation or judgment. The feelings, express emotion without blame. Needs, identify underlying needs being met or unmet. And request, make specific doable request. So let's say you have frustrated user, defensive IT teams, and this framework helps you resolve the conflicts quickly and maintain a relationship. So instead of saying you are being unrealistic about this timeline, you might say, I notice you have 10 requirements and 2 weeks. This is the observation part. I feel concerned about our ability as a team to deliver quality. This is the feeling part. I need to understand which of your requirements are the most critical to your success. Those are the needs. Would you help me prioritize those 3 top requirements, must-haves? And this is the request. And this is how we approach nonviolent communication. So imagine this, you are in a stakeholder review meeting, and people are looking on the documentation and the requirement and everything, and they say, well, this is too complicated. You always try to, you analysts always overcomplicate things. You need to do something simple that actually work. So the traditional response will be, well, this requirement are necessary because of the complexity of the business process. If we simplify too much, we'll miss the critical edge cases and you'll come back later asking for those changes. Now, if you say that, then it creates a tension in your audience. They start to feel defensive and they shut down and you damage the relationship and you are now in a battle instead of a collaboration. So how you can approach this? 1, observation. I notice your concern about the complexity of the document I created. This is first one observation. The feelings. For example, I feel uncertain because I want to make sure we capture everything you need, but in the same time, I want this output to be useful for our team. Then the needs. You identify what is really needed. It sounds that you need something that is both throughout and easy to understand and implement. Is that right? And then you get the feedback. And then you make the request specific and doable. But will you be able to walk through a few specific sections with me so I can understand which part feel complex and how we may present them differently? So if you do that, you start seeing that instead of defending their position, they start collaborating. And they may say, yes, within the login process, there are 6 different scenarios and my team just need 1. Okay, can we make things clear? And then you start collaborating on this process. So why this works? Because it separates the person from the problem. We acknowledge the concerns without taking it personally. And we are staying curious instead of defensive. And we invite collaboration instead of creating conflict. And in this way, the stakeholder feels heard and we get the information that we actually need to improve the work. So why these 3 frameworks work together? Because 1 helps you read the emotional landscape. The Thomas Klingman gives you the strategic options for navigating the conflict, and nonviolent communication provides you the actual words to make it happen without damaging the relationships. Now, let's talk about human-centered design. So we use empathy as a design tool. Human-centered design is not just a buzzword. It's a practical framework that puts real people at the center of every solution. So instead of starting with what the system can do, we start with what people actually need, feel, and struggle with. It happened to me that I was discussing with a lady, presenting her the functionalities and everything, and at some point she started crying because she was overwhelmed with the work that she needs to be done, and the system itself cannot cover this. She had different needs. So you need to think of a solution with the people that use that solution in mind. How you do that? You use some phases, for example. Use clarity. You need to understand the real problem through empathy. Ideate, generate solution based on human insights, not technical possibilities. Create prototypes that work for people. They can feel, they can test it, they can see it. And deploy solution that works for real human in real context. There are several techniques that you can use during the business analysis work, like journey mapping, follow user through the entire experience, not just the system interaction, but the emotional journey and frustration. And you can see the journey from the frustration to relief, basically. Persona development, create detailed character representation of real users, their goals, their fears, their context. And pain point identification. It's better to distinguish between explicit problem, what people can tell you, and latent problem, what they cannot articulate but deeply feel about this. So, for example, they might complain that the system is slow, but when you deep dive into this, you realize that they use it for different purposes because they have different needs. Let's talk about remote team. Now, almost everybody works from home. You have a lot of remote team. So how this plays out in the business analysis work? It's basically we transform ourselves into digital detectives. So we read emotions through windows. We try to understand the symphony through a keyhole, for example. We see faces from chest up. You miss 70% of the body language. You rely on unstable internet connection. People freeze in mid-session. So there are several techniques that you can make your life easier. One will be the micro window method. Imagine this triangle from the eyebrows to the eyes to the shoulders. So this triangle, when it shrinks, that means there are some concerns. When it's open, then people are relaxed. So that's one thing. Audio emotional layer. Basically listen to the pace changes, the voice pitch shifts, and the pauses between words. Usually, if you close your eyes during a meeting and you just hear what is being said, you might feel that the people express their anxiety through rush speech. Slower pace means that you need to pay attention. There is a signal that you take this into consideration. Long pauses means that there is a confusion or there is a disagreement. So listening can help you identify what people really feel about what you are saying. Oh, another thing is engagement radar. If you are in a physical meeting room, you can see people looking at their phones, opening their laptop, and it's pretty obvious. Within the virtual meeting, they might do the same, but you can see it in different ways. You see a person that switch off, switch on camera repeatedly. Uh, so when you feel that, you try to engage that person. You just name the person and ask about their opinion, their feeling, and try to bring them within the context of your meeting. Now, everybody talks about AI. AI is coming, AI is here, and it will change our life forever. So how we play it from the business analysis point of view. So AI can analyze data patterns faster than any human, but it can really read a room. Can AI feel the tension when the stakeholder goes quiet? Can AI sense the unspoken fears behind the resistance to change? I don't think so. So my personal opinion, when we look at the future of AI, I see it more towards Isaac Asimov foundation rather than the Terminator. So in the end, the AI will not eliminate the human element. It will amplify our ability to serve people better. Now, as a conclusion, empathy isn't optional. It's BA's loudest note. Imagine, again, a jazz musician, and you can actually think of So What of Miles Davis. In every great musical performance, there is a moment when one instrument steps forward and set the entire emotional theme for the entire song. The same happens with business analysis. Empathy is that lead instrument. It's the melody that guides everything else. So when you are in a requirement session with genuine curiosity about how people feel or not just what they need, you already changed the outcome of that project. Then project failed when emotions go unheard. What I've learned is behind every scope creep, there is an unspoken fear. Behind every resistance to change, there is an unacknowledged concern. Behind every unclear requirement, it's someone that doesn't feel safe enough to tell you what they really need. So the most expensive project failures are not technical, they are emotional. When you stop listening to words and start hear the feelings, then you prevent the breakdowns that can cost a lot of money. Again, empathy maps, nonviolent communication is the new toolkit. They are not just frameworks. They are instruments for reading any room, anywhere in the room. Empathy mapping reveals what people can say. Nonviolent communication gives you the language to navigate difficult conversation without breaking the relationships. Thomas Kilman helps you choose the right approach when the conflicts arise. So if you master those three, you can improvise beautifully throughout any meeting dynamic. So listen not just for the requirements, but the emotion behind them. Just to wrap it up and as a conclusion, the human side of the business analyst doesn't mean we compromise on our analytical standards. It's something that makes us more complete. So when we combine our technical expertise with our human insight, we just stop delivering requirements. We start delivering transformation that makes work better for real people. So thank you very much. We'll proceed now to Q&A session. And Let's pick up some questions. Let's see that. Being empathetic with every stakeholder sounds kind of exhausting. How do you avoid emotional burnout as a BA? Well, emotional fatigue is genuine. The only thing you shouldn't be an emotional sponge for everybody's anxiety or frustrations. Uh, Empathy does not mean you need to absorb everybody's emotion. There is a difference between cognitive empathy and emotional empathy. So, cognitive empathy is understanding someone's perspective and emotionally feeling their feeling. As a BA, we need the first one. We need to really understand and put ourselves in people's shoes. And also, you need to establish boundaries. Let's look to another question. What was the most rewarding experience as a BA? Uh, I might say when a person says, yes, you really understood what we need. I think this is the most rewarding. What's your favorite modeling technique, use case diagram, process flows, and why? Uh, Personally, I like diagrams. I'm more comfortable with them. Use cases, of course, uh, but again, it's modeling technique is something that you can learn. It's something that you can use it and improve it over time. The main uh, point is to really express in that diagram what people really need. Another question, what books, what book are you reading right now? Uh, that's a nice one. I have here on my desk Robert Kaplan, The Tragical Thinking. It's a nice book on the sense of geopolitical tragedy within this chaotic landscape. Um, let's take one more question. This one is really, really nice. It's how do you handle a stakeholder who is emotionally resistant to change initiative and keeps saying this won't work in every meeting? Uh, I will think of this on the context of Chris Voss' book, Never Split the Difference, in which there is a topic where it says you should embrace no instead of yes. Uh, so resistance rarely comes from a solution, but usually come from unmet needs. So when people say yes, they might be dismissive, just to close the topic. And also when you say yes, means that they commit to something. And this is really, really tricky. So embrace no. If they are emotionally resistant to a change initiative, try to understand why. Try to acknowledge their fears. You can use mirroring or labeling emotion. It seems that you are worried about this, and this simple labeling can trigger a feedback. Uh, I think we are reaching our time. If we have further question, we'll take it aside, and I will try to reply them on our LinkedIn page. Uh, Thank you for your time. Thank you for taking 1 hour of your life to listen to us. And don't stop following us on LinkedIn or any social media. We have interesting things to say, and we are doing interesting stuff. Thank you.